Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest on the line. We have Yandy. Morning, Yandy.
Hey!
Yandy, what city are you in?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. But in my heart, I'm always in New York. You know that.
You moved from New York. You moved from Harlem. You moved to Atlanta. So how's Atlanta living? What made you move to Atlanta?
Everything, the opportunities out here. I've opened up a store. I have a restaurant. So there's just a lot going on. And then I wanted some grass. I wanted my babies to run in grass and see trees and smell fresh, clean air and all of that. So it was really my husband's decision and I was fighting it. But then when I came out, he was like, just look at this house. Just look at this house. I came, looked at the house and I fell in love.
Good.
That'll do it. Now, speaking of your husband, we saw that you guys did renew your vows earlier this year in Dubai. So what was that experience like for you?
It was a lot. We planned that wedding in 3 weeks. And originally it was supposed to be 10 of us. There were about 80 something of us out there. So
wow.
It was insane. It was crazy. He proposed and I was like, oh, we were going on a family trip to Dubai. And then he was like, I want us to get remarried. And I was like, well, why don't we do it in Dubai? And why don't we start inviting people? So that quick little thing turned into 80 people out there with us. And then the show decided to follow it. So it was beautiful. It was so nice.
Did anybody get in trouble in Dubai? Because Dubai don't play that.
A couple people did, but
Really?
we ain't gonna talk about that. I'm not putting nobody business in the streets, Evie. Now you know I'm not doing that.
I was just joking, but Dubai don't play that.
Come on now, you know we got a couple crazy friends. So yes, a couple people got in trouble, but we here. We made it.
You made it. Everybody made it back?
Everybody made it back.
All right, that's all that matters.
Now, Yandy, you know you guys ended up on the Rumor Report and on the blogs and went viral. And that was for something that Mandisi said.
I'm like, which thing was it now?
Now, which thing was it?
What you done did now?
What did I do now?
And but I do want you to clear this up, right? Because people were talking about how Mandisi said that if you went to jail, he doesn't know if he'd be able to hold you down. And if you recall, that went so viral, and I know he felt very defensive
That
over those
sounded
comments.
wild when he said it, though. I ain't gonna front.
So
When they
this
played
is
that
the
clip,
thing, right? My husband is brutally honest in every situation. Now, the same question was asked to me when he was leaving. They were like, actually, he said, you don't have to do this. In my mind, I was like, shoot, I hope I can do it. You really just don't know. Mm-hmm. What he said was, I don't know. And that is what everybody really feels. But I was like, damn, we sit in front of 3 million people watching this show. I don't care what you really feel. Say what you're supposed to say. So because he's so honest, he said, I don't know. And I felt the same way when he was going, I hope I can. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's an honest feeling that you have. But the point is, don't be stupid. You know that the world is going, after I just did it, the world is going to look at you and me crazy for you saying something stupid like that. So yeah, I was like, I should knock you upside your head.
So what was that conversation after when the show? Because
the conversation after was, you want to get knocked upside your head? I was sitting there, but this isn't the first time. Like we've had this conversation when we go through things, and he's like, yeah, why you didn't call or why you didn't write this day, and I was calling at this time and you didn't pick up. And I'm like, what if the roles were reversed? Right. Was you gonna pick up every single call when you was holding down these kids? You working 3 jobs, you owning all these different companies. I'm allowed to miss a phone call. I'm allowed to not write you after I done spoke to you 3 times today. So, and I'm like, would you do it? So we've had that conversation. And he's like, you're right. I don't know that I would make every call. I don't know that. So, okay. So we've had this conversation. So I wasn't shocked to hear him say that, because we've had those conversations where he said, like, I appreciate that you have, and I hope that I could do. I don't know if I could, and I say the same thing. I don't know if I could have either, but I did. So now that we know that I did, let's move past it. Get your mind right to a place where you could be like, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm right here.
So question, now how was doing this show? Because of course these things happen in real life, right? Mm-hmm. So you have that conversation in real life, and then 4 months later it airs. Does it bring up things and y'all got to have that conversation again? Or is it like...
Oh, absolutely. Because when it happened, it was a conversation. And the crazy thing is, I didn't even, because we were, emotions and adrenaline is running high. That was a scene that was a real, like, you walking into this fire pit, everybody sitting around, they dealing with real stuff. So when it was said, you know, my nerves are still bad. I never really feel like I was meant for TV. So I still get nervous. So when it happened, I was already mad because me and him have been going back and forth about the fact that he said I didn't write enough, or, you know, I was always so busy with work and running around that he felt like I should have been more communicative, if that's even a word. I should have been communicating more. And I was like, what? Like, how? Then I went through the list. Like, I was doing this. How dare you say I should have communicated more? So I was already on one. So in Greene scheme, when they said to me, how did you feel about Mendici saying, I was like, wait, he said that? So I got emotional in Greene scheme. But that night, we had already had it out, because I'm like, you really gonna sit in front of people and say I didn't do enough after I did this, I was visiting. So we had it out about something totally different. But when they brought that to me in Greene screen, you know, some months later, I was like, wait a minute, he said that? So it brought up all those emotions again and again. Like, reality TV is not scripted, as you guys know. It's situational, where would I normally be sitting around a fire pit with these particular people? Some of them, yes, some of them, no. So that right there was just like, you gonna say this in front of all these people, some my friends, some not. And I felt like, you embarrassed me. And then he felt like, well, you embarrassed me saying work was more important, this was more important. So, you know, we had to deal with that, and we had to deal with it in real life, in real time.
And another issue that you guys had was him not really appreciating what you do as far as work, right? Because you have been on the front lines. You've been very active. We know you and Tamika Mallory are extremely close, and you've been supporting her cause and been on those front lines as well, getting arrested and all of that. So how have you guys moved forward when it comes to that?
I think it's not that he doesn't appreciate it. I think it's more that he's just scared. You know, me calling him being locked up in jail was one of the hardest calls he had to receive, because in that moment, the roles were reversed. And he was like, I'm supposed to do these kids by myself. I got to, you know, wake them up and take them. At that time, they were in summer camp, but it was still, they got to be there at 8:00 in the morning. They need to eat. They need to, you know, be dressed and ready to go. So all of that, just coming home and having to manage 2 babies by himself, he didn't know. And all he knew was that I got a felony charge. So he's like, wait a minute. It's a felony charge. How long are you going to be there? What's happening? He was scared to death. He was scared to death, of course, because he didn't want me in prison. But then also he was scared to death because he was like, I got to do this by myself with these kids. And it was during the pandemic. So it was a lot of things that was just on his mind. So he was like, you can't just think about everybody else and not think about your family, think about your children. So it was more about like, hold on 1 second now. I know that this is something that matters to us and it matters to me, but getting arrested is a little bit too much for me to deal with right now.
Now, I was going to ask you.
He wasn't on the page with me getting arrested at all. And then when I went and got arrested again, he was like, okay, now.
Enough's enough.
Enough is enough. Enough is enough.
Now, Love and Hip Hop, you're a vet on Love and Hip Hop.
I'm a vet on Love and Hip Hop.
You still enjoy it? Or you tired of it now?
No, I like the, for me, this transition was great. I love the people in Atlanta. They inspire me. You can't be out here and not do something. Everybody out here, you know, owns several businesses. They have establishments. They're really popping. So I had to, you know, New York was great, but for me, it was easy. Out here is challenging. Like I gotta stay inspired to keep creating and doing things. So it definitely calls me higher.
I saw you guys got a new mayor. So how do you feel about that?
We got a new mayor, and I had the privilege of talking to him the night before the runoff and really, you know, getting all up in his business about like, look, these are some of the issues I'm having. These are some of the things I want. I'm here now. So I can definitely speak to some of the changes I want to see. And I really appreciated his answers. One of my biggest concerns, so I have a store at the Underground in Atlanta. If you're from Atlanta or if you visited Atlanta, especially, I would say like 6 years ago, the Underground was the spot in Atlanta. It's been closed down for some time, but I opened up my location there because that is the real Atlanta. And it's booming. You know, there's businesses that are opening right now. I was like one of the 3rd businesses that opened over there. And I think now there's about 15 or 20. There's the homelessness around the area was insane. And I just felt like we needed to really clean up the city. But first, we needed to make sure we provided opportunities for the people in the Atlanta area. So I wanted to know, like, what are we doing? What are we doing to combat this houselessness? And then what are we doing to provide resources for all of these people that are sleeping? I mean, it's like tents lined up against the park, tents lined up against the highway, tents lined up literally right around the corner from my store. So even being there, I felt like it was a constant need for me to do community events, like hand out clothes, hand out sneakers, hand out food. So we do stuff like that at least like twice a month, because, you know, in that area, it was really, it is still, you know, it's a lot of homelessness. So he told me the plan, he told me the goals that he has for that. And then another thing for me that was, you know, small businesses are thriving in Atlanta, but I also see gentrification happening and all these tall buildings coming in. You know, there's some small business owners that are being knocked off the block. So I wanted to know, what are you going to do to combat that and protect us? So we had a good conversation. And I think, you know, going into this, it's always good conversations, but then when things start to happen, like, you know, over policing and all the other things that happen, we got to have another conversation. But I wanted to make sure I had that communication open with him so we can have these conversations.
Will some of this be documented on Love and Hip Hop?
No, child. I mean, this is stuff that I do.
I'm just wondering because I know part of it is trying to make sure that message does get out to the masses, and why not to the audience? I would love this last season and the season before. They tapped into the other side of who I am. And I was so surprised that they wanted to cover that when I was going to the prison in Mississippi, and they were like, we want to follow that. I was like, y'all do? Okay, come along. Because for years, this has been what I've been doing, but it just didn't seem like they cared, and I can't even say they care. They care about what people care about. And a lot of times, you know, Angela, if there's something, you know, positive or reformish or, you know, political, they kind of stay away from that because people necessarily don't always care. Right.
But I think right before, you know, George Floyd and all of the political unrest that happened, you know, they came to follow me doing the prison reform stuff because my husband was in prison. Mm-hmm. And then it was all of the stuff that happened right after that. So it was like, okay, the world is caring about this now. So as a company, we have to make sure we show what the world is caring about. But I think if people don't care, then the networks won't care to share it either.
So do you think moving forward, because like you said, it is a different day and age now.
It is.
A lot of things have been blown wide open on Front Street. So do you feel like moving forward, this could be something that people care about enough for it to be on I think now, because it's been knocking at our doors and coming to everyone's areas and everyone's neighborhoods, we have no choice but to care. You know, we have no choice but to care. So I think that these networks are realizing, okay, we have to show some other things. We have to show, you know, the duplicity in these stories in people's lives. You know, am I, you know, in music and am I an entrepreneur? Yes, but I'm also a mother that's raising beautiful brown children that care and you know, about what's happening out there on the political side and what's happening in the justice world. So you got to show that, because you can't show just a part of me anymore, because people care about, like, well, what else is she doing? What is she doing in the community? And what, especially if my Instagram reflects something else that I'm doing, they're like, why is this not matching up? Right.
Now you hooked up with Coach Gessie. You about the detox?
Oh my gosh, I'm about that detox life.
This is your first one?
Just completely about it. Detoxing from people, detoxing from situations, detoxing from cities and jobs, whatever it is that I got to do to make sure this is the happiest I've ever been, I must say.
You know, and I do want to say, before we get into Yandy and her detox, your sister was actually on the Breakfast Club with Coach Gessie before doing a detox because of her fibroids.
Yes, absolutely. And it changed her life. My sister has struggled with fibroids, and you know that I always mess this up. PCOS?
PCOS.
Is that it? Yes. She has struggled for years with infertility and really trying to just live a full life without pain, without, you know, excessive bleeding. And until she met Coach. Now, I met Coach because I reached out to her for my sister, because I was like, something has to give, because that affects your mental health.
Yeah.
You know? So I reached out to her like, my sister needs something. And I saw her on the Breakfast Club, and I was like, I don't know if this is, my sister has had tons of surgeries, and I'm like, I need something else. And more than just, you know, the supplements, and I need a whole mental, like she just needs a whole mental overhaul to help her with her thinking and her not wanting to give up on her dream of having children.
So let me ask you a question. Is this your first detox?
Coach Gessie's was my first, but I started it, I think that was like 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So
2 years ago, that was my first one.
Which one are you doing now? You doing the 7-day, the 14-day, the 30-day?
Right now, I'm doing the 30-day.
The 30-day fruit one.
I'm doing the 30-day fruit one.
What number you at? What day you on?
I started it the day after I left. Well, okay, let me just keep it real. Thanksgiving was hard.
I bet.
There's no way you did a detox Thanksgiving. Go ahead and lie.
Thanksgiving was hard.
Go ahead and
Okay. I'm not gonna lie. Thanksgiving was hard. I had a little piece of turkey there and there.
And look, we don't beat ourselves up when it doesn't every single day.
No,
Perfection.
I don't.
You don't beat yourself up over that.
I don't. And for me, it's a journey, right? I'm a seafood loving something, and I will also do a good piece of steak. But I understand my body, and I understand just really wanting to cleanse and all of that stuff. So it's a journey. It's something that I don't just do for 30 days. I actually love some of the meals that I learned from Detox Living with Coach. So it's been something that's become a part of my lifestyle.
Right. And I agree with that, because it can't be something that you just do the detox and then back to what I was doing before the detox.
No.
It is a lifestyle change, and it is a balance, right? There's going to be days that you're not perfect, and that just means the next day you got to get back on it. That's all.
Yeah.
It's hard being in Atlanta, though. I ain't gonna lie. Atlanta got some great food.
Oh my gosh. And then me opening up a restaurant and it's my job. I got to taste out the chef. Is what I got to do. But the good thing is we added the detox living into our menus. So there's this dish that Coach Gessie talked to me about. And if you guys don't know who Coach Gessie is, you got to look her up. She's not just about healthy living when it comes to food, but I'm gonna go back really quickly. I met Coach Gessie when I was going through a severe depression. Nobody would know, because I was able to get on TV and mask what was happening. And I thought that I was just reaching out to her for my sister. But when she talked to me about, it's not just about what you eat that helps your body, it's the stress you're able to relieve. And I needed to have those conversations. I thought it was for somebody else, but it wound up being something that I needed. And it really just helped refocus my thinking. I had clarity, and she helped me with prayer and all of that stuff. And honestly, to detox, you need a little bit of praying when you used to eat the way I eat. So now fast forward, it's become something that is not just an eating thing for me. It's a really taking time to be centered and really figuring out what is my body telling me and what is my mind telling me that I need. So it's been really good. It's been good.
And I second that, Yandy, because a lot of times people don't realize how the food you put in your body affects so many other things. It affects your mood. Mm-hmm. It affects how you treat other people. It is how you treat yourself. And so I do feel like a lot of times it starts there, you know. I mean, just think about it. And when we started doing this show, how bad you used to eat every morning and how much it would affect your attitude and your mood. And when you can be more even, when you can be healthier, when your head is more clear, your body's able to break things out, you're having regular bowel movements as we're supposed to. All of those things matter a lot, not having those toxins inside of your body, because I do feel like no matter what, that does affect who you are as a human being.
Absolutely. And then also women, like we have menstrual periods, right? And having those cramps and that is a horrible feeling. I'm telling you, when I started detoxing and really just monitoring what I'm taking in and what helps that, what helps the growth of fibroids, what shrinks it, all of those things affected my pain level. If I'm in pain and I got to go work, or I got to go shoot, or I got to go talk to people at the store, or I have to interact with chefs at the restaurant, I don't want to talk to you.
Right.
I don't want to deal with you. I don't want you in my space, none of that. But when you are able to manage it and you're able to really, I know, okay, if it's going to be this time of month, this is what I want to eat. This is what I want to do, because I want to make sure I'm not in pain. You know, and being able to have control over that is something that's important too.
You're right, because it also affects how much you bleed. Because I realize when you change your diet and you eat better, I know you guys aren't going to know a lot about this.
Sorry, Envy.
Yeah, sorry, Envy. But it's good. It's good because you have 4 daughters. You know, this is good information. But it does affect the amount of blood, the amount of pain, because you're not supposed to be bleeding that heavily nonstop for a long period of time. And so I'll say for myself personally, all those things did change when I changed my diet, where to the point where I don't even get cramps at all.
Me either. Mm-hmm. Me either.
Yeah,
Me either.
so we do have a podcast, Detox Living, and Yandy was actually our first guest.
Okay.
Me and Coach Gessie on the Detox Living podcast, where we are going to be talking about things just like this. And it meant a lot to me because even when your sister came up here, to hear her story about how she didn't even want to leave the house, and it was hard for her to even live her life and have a job and go to work just because of dealing with her fibroids and the issues that stem from that, and how much your life can change when you change your diet. That means a lot. And I know the pandemic just happened. I gained weight, you know.
Yes, Lord. Yes.
I was not doing my best. So, you know, it is that time for me to detox too.
Yep. I mean, I appreciated that show. I love just we got so many things that we are entertained with. But to really sit and get information that's going to help your whole life living is great. And I don't see too many shows like this. So you guys are definitely one in a million. Definitely go follow the podcast if you haven't. The episode airs tonight, right?
Yes,
Airs tonight?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
so
ma'am.
it airs tonight. Make sure you go look it up. It's Detox Living, Angela and Coach Gessie, if I'm not mistaken. And I am not paid to promote this thing. This is something that I really feel strongly about. I really feel like it's something that will spark much conversation. We talked about a lot of stuff. I didn't go on the show and talk about, me going through depression. I didn't go on the show and talk about me seeking therapy. And Coach Gessie was one of the people that I sat with. And so many of us, we learn how to get out there, go to work, put a mask on, deal with what we're dealing with. And you don't really know what's happening in our relationships. You don't know what's happening in our lives. You don't know what's happening, in our minds and in our homes. And I was able to just talk freely in a space with you, Angela, and Coach, and just be honest and be real. And I think that it's a needed conversation because so many of us need to start having these conversations, especially after that pandemic.
Right.
That pandemic was something. And I think a lot of us are still suffering from not just health-wise, but mentally what that did to us, being isolated and being alone and losing relationships, or just having to figure out who are my real friends, who aren't. All of those things happened during the pandemic. And it should be an ongoing conversation.
Well, listen, we couldn't have had a better first guest than Yandy on Detox Living with Coach Gessie and Angela Yee. And I thank you for being so vulnerable and open and always willing to discuss whatever. I know it's not easy. Your life is out there. People are weighing in, saying all kinds of crazy things, that may not even be true. So I commend you for being able to handle things so well and still push on.
Thank you, my sister. I appreciate that.
Good seeing you, Yandy.
Good seeing you too. You guys be blessed.
We'll
Same
see
to
you in
you.
person soon.
Yes, for sure. And make sure you guys look at it tonight. It was a great conversation.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Yandy.
It's Yandy.
All right, bye.
It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.